Good afternoon and welcome to The Joy is in the Journey. My name is Gina and I am a practitioner here in, at the moment, hard to believe, sunny Rhode Island after the rains that we have had in the Northeast. So I want to begin The Joy is in the Journey today by sending joy, light, love out to everyone that has been affected by Hurricane Ida, and just knowing that all is well regardless of what it seems in any given moment. So this show, The Joy is in the Journey, is all about finding and being in that place of love and light, being in that place of knowing, in the faith, in that sunlight of spirit, regardless of what's going on the outside, knowing and being in that truth, living in that light. And it's for me, it's been a passion of mine because the joy is in the journey. It's not about what I call destination happiness. Too many people live by, well, when I retire, or when I get that job, when I meet that right person, when this happens, when that happens. It's not about a destination. Joy is always only right where you are. That's the only opportunity. Because when we live in a place of someplace or something outside of us controlling that, it can also take it away. And that is not the truth. Joy is an inherent nature of divine. It is your birthright. It is who you are and are meant to be. And that's what this show is all about. We bring different people, different modalities, different backgrounds, all in here to talk about how faith shines a light on that, but also really being in that place of what is important. How do you get there? What is it all about to you? So as we are going up that mountainside of life, the view is beautiful in every spot. It is different everywhere, and there is no going back. So appreciate this moment, this day. And I have someone today that is just someone that radiates joy to anyone she meets. This person, just the thought of her brings a smile to my face. It's a wonder she hasn't been here before. But no surprise, she's also going to be on Laura's show. I found this out today. She's going to be on the Cosmic Prayer on Monday. So now that New Thought Media Network has her, we're not letting her go. She is an amazing gift to anyone that meets her, to her beloved community. And I'm talking about beloved Reverend JioDucci. And she was a fellow classmate for a brief time. When I had first started in the Florida campus, she was there and she was getting ready to graduate. And she graduated the School of Leadership through the Holmes campus. And she absolutely is that light. She is currently, after receiving her master's in consciousness through the Holmes Institute, she considers this her second act of life. She's got her bio is 2 pages long, and I'm sure that minimizes everything she's done. Truly amazing. And she is currently the social justice minister for the Center of Spiritual Living in Greater Cincinnati. And she's a motivational speaker. She does a lot of work, charity in all forms, but especially around cancer awareness, which is something that is near and dear to her heart, as she is a 2-time survivor and what I call thriver, because there's more than just surviving. It's so much more, as I myself am a survivor, but I'm a thriver. It taught me more than it took from me by far. So this gorgeous woman that just radiates light, I am bringing her in because you need to meet her.
Hi.
Reverend JJ, welcome to The Joy is in the Journey.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
It's so good to have you here today. You've belonged on here all along and you didn't even know it.
I had no idea. I'm so happy about this and so proud of you, and so glad that we're on the Florida campus together. At least we were for a short time, but we're always joined by that campus. That's a wonderful thing.
I always say it, we are so biased, but anyone considering going into the Holmes Institute and studies, I always send. The Reverend Catherine has been on the show. Actually, we've had quite a few of our fellow classes. There's a lot of movers and shakers, not taking anything away from the rest of the groups, but just in general, we've got Laura, who is graduating. She's a senior. She's You're fine. Laura Topper is speaking of, who has 3 shows at the Mo, two in the Prayer Network as well. She's so busy doing all kinds of things. And we've got a bunch of people that we've got Dan and Chris, and they're doing so much with off the top of my head, I can't think of the name of it'll come to me, but they were on here as well.
Younger adults, though, for sure.
We've had so many amazing people coming through. There's a lot going on in New Thought, and especially CSL right now. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be here. Tell me, how do you feel having graduated and being done with classes for a while? How does that feel? Is it settled in?
It has settled in. I knew 2 years before graduation that I would stay in Cincinnati, and that I am here with Reverend D. Coy, who's the senior minister of Centers for Spiritual Living, Greater Cincinnati. And there's so many things that are going on in Cincinnati that are divisive, but I see love. I look at folks and I see love. I come from a place of love, and we want to bring that out in the community. So he says, I want you then to come on board as our inclusion and social justice minister. So I received a letter of call, and which was supposed to expire at the end of August. I had 6 months, and they said, and that is my home center. So, how do you stop doing what they've paid you to do when they run out of money? But people have been sending in money to keep me there. So I'm there for quite a while now, working on some projects to try to bring Cincinnati, the greater Cincinnati community together, and especially the young people with understanding about New Thought and how change your thinking really does change your life.
And it does. And I just noticed that I had the wrong banner up there. I had your name put in with a replay. We are not a replay. We are live. Just so many moving parts. So we are live, and I would love for people to ask questions. Anything that comes up, let us know what it is you would like to know. Where is your, anything that comes up for people out there, let us know. And so isn't it wonderful when your community calls out and wants you?
It's an awesome feeling. And it's an awesome feeling because I get to do so many things in the community at large on behalf of our spiritual community. Mm-hmm. And in Southwestern Ohio, we are it. And in Indiana, from what we've explored, they do not have a CSL there. So we've been reaching out to them, and who knew that what I'm doing in my second act of my career, which is the ministry, I would be bringing in all those things from my first act. So I'm leveraging broadcasting and marketing and networking and all kinds of things. And
because you have over 30 years. I mean, you've got over 30 years of business experience. Then now you start all over again, because Spirit takes the best of us. That's the trick. We do whatever it is we've done, and then we bring that to ministry in amazing ways.
It's amazing, and it's such a blessing to be able to even reach back to some people from my previous career or whatever, and ask them to come forward and help me out with certain things, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling to see how we're going to really continue to grow, but focus on growing finally, because the last year and a half, like so many centers, we've been focused on surviving because of the pandemic, and now we are focusing on building blocks and how we're going to do that. And we are truly, Reverend D and I are truly partners in this. We call ourselves partners in good. Mm-hmm. So it feels
great.
That. Yes.
And how are you coming back? How are you building back bigger and better?
Building back bigger and better. And I love it. And Biden said it, and I use it. And we are, I'm working on a strategic marketing strategy right now that has a three-prong approach to, number one, we own our facility, which seats 125, 140 people. And we are now working on a plan to diversify what we offer in terms of leveraging that facility, as does many of our facilities across the country, the ones that are owned by the centers. And we will be having, we're promoting weddings of all kinds. We're, Cincinnati is rather conservative, but we have a GLBT community here. And I've been with my partner 37 wonderful years. And, so we're promoting weddings. We're promoting inclusion. We are looking at reaching out, being of service to the communities that surround us, one that is going through a phase of gentrification, which it has flipped in the last 7-8 years from about like 75-80% African American to a lot less than that now, less than half of that now, and it has caused some dissension. And we're working at ways with their community council and their business leaders and their faith-based leaders to see what can we do to help you. When people think of social justice and inclusion, they think it's a black and white thing. Oh no, it's a lot bigger than that. We have seniors that are being displaced in our nearby communities because the housing market is out of reach for them. And a few of them go to our center. And they're not black, So it's all of us. We're looking at humanity because the race that matters is what we call human. And that's who we are. We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
And that's the blessing to me. One of the things about New Thought that I appreciate so much, that it is, we are here to have that experience of oneness, to promote that. Yes. Nobody's perfect. Nobody does it perfectly, but we show up in our best that we can and do the next right thing. And one of the things that it's hard sometimes to see things that outrage us.
Yes.
And love the person, not the act, not the statement. Because love is the only thing that heals.
Absolutely.
And being in that place of anger divides more. So we are here to show up as love today. And if all we do is show up as love today, we're doing a lot.
We're doing a mighty heap, as my Nana from Alabama would say. We're doing a mighty heap. And, sometimes the doing is not doing, because not doing is doing something. And it's sitting and being quiet and listening for that still small voice from within for guidance and direction, because oftentimes we don't know what we don't know until we can and do take that time to be quiet. And just listen. And with CSL, the thing that has been a blessing for me is going through practitioner training and coming from my background is Black Southern Baptist, where, you were divided there based on, what did you wear to church this Sunday? And, oh, she's having hard times. Look at her. She wore that outfit the first Sunday. It's the third Sunday. She's repeating that. And CSL is truly, as Jesus said, come as you are, be who you are. We are all God's children. We are all the many in the one. That's who we are. And knowing that and wanting to and planning to take that out into the communities with the children. Hopefully, the end of the first quarter of next year, we'll be introducing our first adopted classroom program at one of the local elementary schools, where on one side of us is the community where most of the kids in school are African American. And across the tracks is a community where most of the kids are not. And our prayer is to adopt a classroom from each one of those schools and bring them together and have some of our seniors or be adopt grandparents for them And we have a mascot at our center called Rumi. Rumi writes a column every week. Actually, Rumi writes a column. She has her own constant contact. Rumi is a basset hound, and she belongs to our senior minister, Reverend D. But we all love Rumi. We think Rumi belongs to all of us. So we hopefully will be taking Rumi into the classrooms too, because Rumi talks about love and kindness and prayer and blessings. Yes.
And it amazes me that we're not further along, and I'm laughing because as you're saying this, when I was in third grade, so 40 years ago, maybe 39, I'm 48. So about 40 years ago.
And absolutely beautiful.
Oh, God bless you. As are you, my dear. That just not age. But I was in my third grade class. I grew up in Boston right at the busing time. My sister, who was 3 years ahead of me in school, was part of that whole Boston busing mess that was. And it was truly, but I was a child and I had no idea what was going on. And our year, they took where I was from East Boston, which was predominantly, it had some mix to it, but predominantly white. They took us and a group of children from, I want to say Roxbury, which was predominantly Black. And we both went to the New England Aquarium every Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't know that this was an experiment. We just thought, how cool is it? We get to go on a field trip every Wednesday. And there was never any issue. We were children. We didn't know any different. So the fact that back then you're still trying to do now what they did back then, children don't know. Children aren't the problem. It's the adults that have created or allowed this race consciousness to seep in, and the children are the answer. So it's keeping it in that place of love and being and exuding that, because in so many ways they're more sensitive, more knowing and understanding than we ever were. If we simply allow them to stay that way, amazing what can happen.
It is such a blessing that you said that, because I was bused too. I didn't know I was being bused though. We just had a good time on the bus and had our lunches packed. And I rode bus 5 from my community in Avondale, which for me was Black Mayberry. Every dad came out on Saturday mornings and mowed the lawn. And when the kids got older, especially the boys, their job was to trim the hedges. And you saw the families walking to their respective churches on Sundays. It was well before we were able to afford a car. And, we walked up the street to the church and they walked up the street to their church. There was a church on almost every corner in the community I grew up in, and everybody knew everyone. And it was a lot of love. It was one of those things where, I like what Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better.
Yes.
Well, we knew better then, but we just did it, because of the love. The kids knew, hi, you're my friend. You want to sit next to me? I got an apple for lunch today. You want to have, or I don't like this bologna sandwich. And when I could, I loved strawberry jam and peanut butter on white bread. That was my thing. I don't eat that anymore because I was told I'm not supposed to, but and we'd share things like that as kids. We'd play on the playground. I lived across the street from a huge playground that surrounded, it sat in the center of our 4 blocks. We were the square around it. And I never knew how fortunate we were growing up to grow up like that and have that sense of love and community. Everybody you called auntie or miss or somebody, and it's one of these things where the internet wasn't in existence. So we had the neighbor net, the auntie net, the uncle net, everybody checking in with you.
And people would watch out for each other. It's a very different world that we're living in. And we have an opportunity, as much as everything is how we look at it. And we have an opportunity to heal in amazing ways. And, going back in with those kids, that's where it starts. And I believe if CSL as a whole doesn't start paying attention to young adults and not just teens, but young adults, 20s, 30s, we need to come alive again. We need to learn and adapt. And I actually think that as horrible as this past year and a half of the pandemic has been, it has been a blessing in the way of technology because people had to adapt. It doesn't fit people don't fit in the same molds as it used to. Soul
You're absolutely
Evolution.
right.
I couldn't think of the name of it, but Soul Evolution is that one that that Reverend Ryan and Rev Chris and Dan, they're all they're working together and being in this place of creating something as young adults for young adults, and in the hours that are flexible. Go and meet them where they are. It's not about this is what we have, you want it or not. It's being adaptable and coming to a new way of saying and doing things.
Oh, you're so right. And, we're surrounded here in Cincinnati. Our center is, in Cincinnati, we have Xavier University. That's my alma mater where I did my undergraduate work. We have Mount St. Joe, which is, a little schlep away, but maybe 30 minutes, not bad. Northern Kentucky University in the other direction. And we have several two-year colleges. And plus, the big kahuna in the area is the University of Cincinnati. And I'm saying, you know what? We have to meet them where they are. And one of the large churches here, which this church that's maybe 3 miles from our church is noted as being one of the fastest growing churches in the country. They have 6 locations around the greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, Indiana region. And for me, that doesn't scare me, because I'm looking at you have that, but are you open to people that look like me? Not really. Are you open to people who are like me? Well, you don't look like a regular gay person. Well, what does a regular gay person look like? I like lipstick and makeup. That's just me. My roots are Southern. Mama said, you're a lady. You put your lipstick on, baby, before you go out. You want to look good before you go out. Now, look nice for the family, even on the front porch, put your lipstick on. Somebody may walk by and say, howdy. And you want them
I love it.
to see you, And, I see that. And I see the thing that this one church did that I was talking about. When they expanded their church to another location, their 3rd or 4th location, they opened up in the evenings in a bar. And I'm thinking, I'm going to do something on an evening that's not the middle of the week because the kids are studying. Yeah. They have exams. But Fridays, they're ready to wind down. So what can I do for them Friday evenings to say, come on over here with us. We've got coffee and we've got pizza. We've got McDonald's coupons. We've got this. And sit with us for an hour and play some music for us. Or write a poem, and I'll only talk for 10 minutes on something that's CSL, religious science related. But I want to hear from them because they're smart. These young adults are smart and they understand climate change, which is what we're going through. They understand bringing people together, and they understand, just being who you are. Those are the young people that I'm looking for. And I've seen them, and we've just hired a musician who is in his 20s, and he's working on a PhD, which I didn't know that you could obtain in orchestra. And he is our new musician. He started Sunday. Wonderful. And I'm thinking, what an avenue. So I know Spirit is speaking. I know we're in a shift right now. Mm-hmm. And I believe that it's a shift towards our greater greatness. Gina, if I didn't believe that, I could not get up in the morning.
I don't know how people live without faith. I have said that so many times, especially lately. It's more than my life raft. It is what keeps me not just sane, but, I truly believe that when you see someone that has light in their eyes, that's divine light.
Yes.
And when you see people whose eyes are just like sad, glazed over, not there, then that light is still inside, but disconnected. Like there's just no alignment. It's not that one person has any more than any other. The only difference is the faith and the wherewithal to bring it out. And that's what we're here for, to be in that place to say, the light is there. I love this background because it really is all about shining that light that each
Yes.
one is. Joy is not something outside of us, and we live in a society of bigger, better, faster, more that tells us that whatever you have, it's not enough. And we're looking outside for what can only be fulfilled from the inside.
From the inside. And you made a great point there, and I stand in agreement with you, my reverend sister. I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and I like what you said. I'm a two-time thriver, because cancer did not win. And my physician is a thriver. And I was able to see her yesterday, for the first time in a year. She's back at work. And she says, JJ, I got to tell you something. Cancer was a spiritual experience for me. I didn't expect it. She says, do you understand that? And she looked at me and she said, I know you understand that. Oh, I do. I bless the cancer. It caused me to sit down and reevaluate my life. Was my life going through corporate America and looking for a bigger, better, greater, more money, bigger house, better clothes every season? And that's not contributing to the environment in any way, because what do you do with them? And you can give them away, but then you still have too much. So I'm looking at that, and I'm thankful that I had to a chance. That there's an old call and response spiritual that says, it's called "Sit Down, Servant," and the words are "Sit down, servant, and rest a little while." So I was forced to rest a little while for a year of chemo and radiation. And actually I did lose my corporate job right afterwards. I was the marketing director for a firm, and they released me less than 3 days after my final chemo treatment, because she says, you're costing me too much money. For whatever reason, that day, it was raining outside. It was in November, right before Thanksgiving. Gina, it was a cold rain. And I was so grateful. I grabbed my stuff, and she said, where are you going now? I said, yeah, I'm going. And she said, you don't want to talk about it? I said, well, you told me I'm terminated, so I'm leaving. It was okay. And I was still going through my practitioner training then. And I got my bags together in my Science of Mind book, because I had my book, and I walked out with everything on my shoulder, and I stood out there in the rain and looked up and felt so happy. I felt so happy. The rain was like baptizing me or something. I don't know, but it was a sense of freedom and relief that I had not felt before. And I thought, I can't be angry with her. I lost my benefits and everything. I told my doctors. They said, we'll still see you. You got to be seen for follow-up. Anybody calls and asks you for money, tell them to see us. That was God expressing. That was God saying, I got to move this out of the way because I need you over here. I'm grateful.
It's not that we would choose that mode again, but I agree. I mean, for me, I too, track one, right at the beginning, I lost my job. I was let go. And there's a whole story and attachment. And I wish I could say I was grateful. I knew it was what needed to happen, but I wouldn't have done it on my own. So it was done for me. I knew it was a toxic environment,
Yes.
and it was done for me. And it's so much happened that year. My dad, the beginning of it, my dad transitioned. My mom almost did. And then I was diagnosed all in prac one. So I hear you. The week that we gave our eulogy, actually, we had to give our own eulogy as part of practitioner training.
Oh, that's something to do too, isn't it?
That was the week that I was diagnosed.
Oh my gosh.
With over a dozen tumors in my kidneys.
Oh my God.
And, Spirit works in amazing ways, because I would never be on ministerial path. I would never be anywhere near what Spirit had planned for me had that not happened. because it forced me to live a different life. I never asked for help. I was the
Yes.
caretaker. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't have a concept of, well, people just slow down. I didn't know what that meant
Right.
until I physically could not get out of a chair and move. I didn't have a concept of what that meant. And it was my caretaking that got me there to begin with, because if you go to Eastern medicine, it's kidneys is where you hold your grief. And I
Yeah.
had my mother, father, and sister diagnosed stage 4 in a year. And I took care of everyone else but me. So when I couldn't take care of anyone anymore, I had a collapse before I could build back up again. And I'm a different person because of it. So,
Yes.
yes, it's a thriving. It is not just surviving. I'm not just getting by. I'm living a completely different existence because of it.
You're living and not existing. Those are two separate things, because life is meant to be living. Lived is you just don't exist. And when I see folks just walking around in the movement, or you know going to different meetings, and they're shaking your hand and looking over your shoulder to see who's more important than you to shake hands with, and I'm thinking, bless your heart, but I'm right here and you're right here. And I tell people how special they are, because sometimes they don't know it. They don't see their gifts. I see them. I see so much beauty. We have a lady by the name of Joy Hart, and I call her name is Joy Hart, and joy is
What's
my
better
heart.
than that? You
Yeah.
don't get a better name than that.
No.
Is that her
Joy.
actual name? Was that her birth name?
Yes, music comes to her,
Oh,
lyrics come to her, and they all have this kind of old school jazz thing with them. She is an incredible vehicle of spirit flowing, and just, oh my gosh, I don't know how many songs she's written. And it's just like, I wouldn't have been exposed to her had I not been on this journey. And she's at our center. Um, I love loving. I post a
it's
lot of
why we're
information.
here. It's
Huh?
why we're here.
We're here to love.
You
And
can see in the background. Look at in the background, my pillows.
I love that. I do. And one of the biggest nonprofit, well, I don't know how big it is, but the nonprofit I started 30 years ago is SCAT,
That's one
Students
of the
Concerned.
questions I was going to ask
Yeah,
you.
it's
Tell us
on.
about SCAT.
SCAT is Students Concerned About Today and Tomorrow. It's located here in the community of Madisonville, where I've lived for a little bit over 30 years. And I started it in 1991 after a police officer had an altercation with a 19-year-old boy, black boy, who was a drug dealer. And he was killed fleeing from the police. He was shot in the back. And they called him G Money. If you worked for him, from what the kids tell me, he didn't respect you a lot, but you better have his money. So in a lot of ways, I learned that he was teaching the kids math, and they knew how to count that money, because if they were short, there were consequences. I'm not saying that was right, because it wasn't. But what he did do, and when I look at the kid who lost his life, a lot of kids said, well, he brought us food every day. He got us food from the store. He fed us every day. I said, he fed you? He fed us. The little kids looked up, he fed them. And I thought, oh my goodness, he was more than what people thought he was. But that whole thing divided our community on racial lines. And I wasn't going to have it. I just thought, no. And Spirit put on me to design up a program, and I had $25 to invest. And that situation happened a few weeks before the end of my program I was doing through Junior Achievement for the business community out here in Madisonville. And I started SCAT with $25 in 1991 with about 10 to 15 kids. I've had 50 to 60 kids flow in and out. And we've done some great things. They're all adults with kids now. And we taught them leadership development by by reaching out to seniors and doing things for seniors. If it's nothing but taking their cans to the street and bringing them back. They learned how to do cost analysis by going to Sam's Club once a year to buy spaghetti and the fixins to make meatballs and spaghetti with a local restaurateur and serve the seniors at the senior center here in the community. And the seniors actually dressed up to see these kids, and relationships developed.
Yeah.
And now what we do sounds crazy, but we got a $5,000 investment from a small savings and loan, and said, here, you take this and do scholarships for the kids. And I looked and I said, I'm grateful, but I got a lot of kids. And they said, well, in your group, you have between 30 and 40 or so, right? And I said, no, every kid in Madisonville is my kid. They all belong to me. I got to help them all. So we started building houses. And I tell you the faith of a mustard seed. I took a man to lunch and asked him to give us the land that he had that was in his family since 1910, 1911. And he thought I was crazy. But I had my trustees with me. And he says, Miss JJ just asked me to give you all my land. They said, yeah, she did. They kept eating. And the long story short, he gave it to us. He gave us 4 virgin acres. And we were able to work with a developer, partner with the developer to build out. I'll have to send you an article on that, to build out the first 3 acres. And we got almost $100,000 in our part of that to help with scholarships. So we've awarded well over $55,000 or $60,000 in scholarships during this time. The scholarship didn't start until late 1995. And there's some years that were skipped because kids just didn't apply. But I'm grateful for that faith, because I would not have had that faith had I not grown up in church. And I bring that up because that's what I want for our young people, the wee ones to the big wee ones, to the teenage ones, to the young adults we talked about, to bring them into CSL and say, you can go from fear to hope to faith. It's all right. That's human.
Yes.
And tell them that you matter, whether you're Black, white, gay, straight, transgender, non-binary. You are God's child.
Absolutely.
And I love you.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, our camp does a wonderful job of that. Our teen camp, our youth camp is really amazing. So, I was at Concordia in Rhode Island that's my home where I came from. And I was there for about 11 years. And I was called, I'd say about March, very loudly, to the Boston chapter of CSL to help them revamp and reemerge. And I am currently serving in leadership at the CSL Greater Boston. So we are beginning again, but in Concordia, we had sent 2 different years in a row, we sent 8 to 10 people to teen camp, and they came back, and we've been sending them for years. They came back having been changed in so many ways. The camp does a wonderful job. Yes. And if you're looking, we are on the East Coast. We are blessed to be here in this new, and growing side of things. We are trying to represent, because on the West Coast, we're huge, but on the East Coast,
yes.
And on the East Coast, and New Thought started up in Boston and New England. So we're working on it. We're in the process. We're growing.
I'm right there with you. And Cincinnati, because we've only been here 18 years.
And the beauty is, we've actually been around in Rhode Island, I want to say 30 years. Concordia hit last year. And I also know that, it's growing in a mighty way. We don't have the comparisons because there's no one around us. We can do it in whatever mighty way our counseling group determines, and it's unfolding. Concordia was blessed to have not shrunk at all due to the pandemic.
Oh, that's
Completely.
wonderful.
Every service had more people virtually than they had normally live. And throughout the week, people were watching. There was a morning call that started that was going on every day, Monday through Friday, and it still does. So a lot of the things that began then are still, and it's just doing things in a different way. And people are not used to not being in their comfort zone,
Yes.
especially new thoughters. We want it the way we want it, and sometimes we'll get a little well, we can look otherwise, we can look elsewhere if we have our opinions, and you know what, it's the beauty is we have room for everyone.
We
There's
do. And I shared with you earlier in our conversation that, we're writing a grant and had no idea, because I'm not a grant writer. I just used to knock on doors and call people and ask for money. But we
taking
need
to lunch.
take them to lunch. And but we're at a situation now where in our plan to grow, we have to look at diversifying and being creative in that shift. And so one of the things in finding out, we had a grant writer, and she said, "You guys aren't thinking big enough." I said, "What?"
Yeah.
And she was a grant writer for some major nonprofits in greater Cincinnati. And I said, "What?" And she says, "Oh, you haven't been to my house. You can come over and we can sit down and talk. I live in the condo overlooking the river." I said, "What?" And it made me feel good that she sees the potential, and she was thankful that it's a blessing to her that we need a grant, because that gives her a sense of purpose too after retirement to do things. And something that I want to remind us all out there of is age is simply a chronological factor. With CSL, I'm praying that we continually be intentionally multi-generational.
Absolutely.
From the wee ones to the older ones, because everyone brings something. And we have to be, in my opinion, even more intentional with that than we have been in the past.
Absolutely. One of the things we did to do that was we had the teens do a technology day. So we had, because how many of us aren't as comfortable on the iPads and the cell phones? So it was Teen Tech Day, and they would help, our older generation. They could bring in their things, or if they could bring whatever it is they needed to learn how to do, how to be on Facebook, how to work their cell phones, and they could make a love offering for whatever it is. But it was an opportunity for a conversation that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And I cannot tell you how supportive our community was to see and embrace the youth doing their fundraisers. Because they had a lot it costs what it costs to go from, because the tough part about being on the East Coast, everything's on the West Coast, and there's plane tickets involved. So when they were going to camp, you're flying people cross country, and they were so receptive to everything that the youth did. So there's opportunity there. And time, treasures, and talents is what we talk about. And we have them all for a reason, and they're all just important. Now, if you're somebody who is working and has crazy hours, then you know what? Fine, make a donation. It's wonderful. But if you have time and you're retired, we'll keep you busy.
Yes.
Spirit can use all those gifts that you have created for yourself.
Everything adds on to everything. We build on that. That's what we are here to do. And I enjoy it. I have inherited 3 church grandchildren. The youngest one just turned 10 Sunday. And his name is Joey. I just love him. And his brother ran in the Junior Olympics this year. And, I celebrate that, and his sister graduated high school this year. And it's like, Mom, JJ, I graduated, I'm like, yeah, because I'm so happy, because they're the only 3 youth we have at our center. And all of a sudden their mother started calling me mama, and their dad started calling me mama. And I'm thinking, they're sounding like some of my scat kids. They call me Mama JJ, you know, and I don't know where they got it from, these young people at the center, but I embraced it, you know, I really did. And I learned so much from them, and watching their growth, the growth of the parents and the growth of the children. And just seeing that is a blessing for all of us who are a little bit older, but seeing us who are a little bit older, I believe it's a blessing for them too.
Absolutely. It's about keeping those minds open in every way. And like you said, it's not just about color, or it's not just about age. It's not just about demographics. It's about everything. That in oneness, we're supposed to look differently.
Yes.
It's supposed to be an entire rainbow of colors, not just one. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be different, different types of music and different experiences. Life is meant to be that.
I think so. I have been blessed to be able to speak at New Thought Unity about once a month since last year. And it's averaging about once a month. Every now and then I skip a month. And they always ask me, you know, well, you used to direct a choir when you were a teenager. What kind of music you want? So I get to pick out my own music. And the music comes to me before my Sunday talks. The music just comes. And so they're used to working with me because I work backwards like that, or I work my way. And I spoke there last month and I said, why is Sly and the Family Stone in my head? And it was talking about being creative, because I used the readings from our ministerial listserv. And I said, dance to the music. I said, really, God? Really? We're talking, this is religious science, science of mind. I'm going to speak at Unity. I can do that. I can do that talk there. But you're telling me dance to the music. God, are you really serious about Sly and the Family Stone?
We used to play Lady Gaga. We used to play Born This Way. We used to sing
I love that. I need to.
We used to do Born This Way, and of course, the first time she started playing it, they were like, people were looking around like, "What is this?" Because it's quite upbeat compared to. It's a different kind of. But you listen to the words, and they're perfect for what we believe.
Absolutely.
So
I'm glad to say I will write that down on my list for our new musician.
There you go.
But it worked, and I said, you know, it worked with the talk, and some of the seniors came up and said, you know what? Back in the day, girl, ooh, I used to dance to the music. I was looking, and it was so joyful for me, you know, and because they felt it and they had a good time, and I have a good time on pulpit. Give me something to bring me up a notch and joyful, you know?
Absolutely.
And the young people, though, they can bring us even more, because they write too. They write, they rap, they do all kinds of things.
Yes.
And I'm just so looking for, I see it and I feel it. You know, it's one of these things where when Spirit puts it on you, it's like, okay, now here's the path. And I see it and I feel it. And I get so full when I talk about it. It just makes me happy.
And that's what we're here. That's what it's about. I believe we are here. Spirit as us wants joy.
Yes.
That's what we're here for. I mean, not every day is going to feel comfortable. And it's so important that we say that out loud. There is no spiritual bypass. There is not pretending or denying. Call a thing. And it's okay to not feel okay on any given moment. But we don't want to stay there. Staying there is where suffering is.
Yes.
That's a choice, whether it's conscious or unconscious. That's where the suffering comes in. So pain happens. It is so important that we say, yes, not every day. There are a lot of people right now that are without water, electricity. And I mean, we're blessed to be able to do this comfortably from where we are.
Yes.
But there are thousands upon thousands of people displaced, some for weeks. And then you look at Afghanistan, and some forever.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot that happens in our world that we do not need to understand, but we know where to go for the resolve. We know,
and to remember to pray.
Yes.
To remember to pray. You know, one of the Sunday talks I gave was an interpretation from a metaphysical standpoint of the 23rd Psalm of David. And growing up in a Black church, and you know, the 23rd Psalm of David is read at almost every Black funeral because God's with you going through death and you fear no evil. And I started being able to switch that script in my head because of my studies of metaphysical Bible, which is a class I'm teaching right now. And I said, my Nana had it right. We're going through. You're not there to stay in that valley. That's the ebb and flow of life. That's what that is. You're going through. And fear not, because God never forsakens you. Spirit is with you. You don't have to look far. It's here. It's in the leaves that in the trees that's blowing the leaves. You know, in the fall, we're losing leaves out here already. But that's spirit working and expressing the birds and the bees and all of that. And I said, spirit is expressing even in the valley, which is a life cycle that we're going through. And as you said, we can choose to stay in that valley because we have free will, or we can choose to rise up.
And sometimes we don't know how. And that's when you go to a practitioner, a minister. I've been a life coach for over 10 years. You know, when you ask that question, is this all there is? No, there's so much more. The best is yet to come. That's always my answer. The best is yet to come, always. And anybody that doesn't feel that way, find someone that does and talk to them.
Right. And I agree with you. And I love that you're doing that. And something that, you know, it's an old cliche. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you, because sometimes your environment can be toxic. And I have a workshop that I'll be teaching the first of the year because that's the best time to teach it. It's divorce from toxic relationships, whether it's a marriage, a boyfriend, family member, whatever. Sometimes it is necessary for your spiritual health and your mental health to give the gift of goodbye to people and situations and things that do not serve your highest and best good. And maybe they never have, but you never knew that you had an out. You don't leave in hate or animosity. You don't detach that way. You leave in prayer and gratitude for that experience because there was a reason for it, and you move on. And we're actually having a wedding at the end of the workshop because they will wed themselves and God at the end. And I'm so looking forward to doing that again. It's one of the things I wrote when I was in ministerial school. So I'm looking forward to doing it again and opening it up to, larger than our congregation base, because there are people in our city that are hurting, that are hungry, that are running scared because of unemployment ends in Ohio, around the country, I think on Saturday. And people are afraid. People don't have jobs.
Well, when you're doing it again, you need to call me and we need to get you on here to talk about it, to give people the opportunity, because these days with Zoom, everything is open.
I know
Anywhere
that. Isn't
in
that
the
wonderful?
world, it is all absolutely. And it's knowing that. And we're almost out of time. I can't believe how fast it goes by.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So I didn't get to ask my all-time that I always ask, which is, what brings you joy? And on a daily basis, what brings you joy?
When I know personally that I am consciously conscious, meaning I'm woke, as the kids say, and I know I'm woke, and that I know that spirit dwells in me. You know, this faith walk as the inclusion and social justice minister with all the other responsibilities, it is work. And sometimes, I get a little bit whelmed, and it's just like, sit back, because you're conscious of that and and just breathe. And I pray and I meditate and I'm ready to go. And it just brings me joy to be of service, to be of service to my CSL community, to the community of Greater Cincinnati, to be of service here, to be of service. My Facebook page, I post things because I want people to read and know and not say I heard it through the grapevine. No, go read it, and to know to have some honest dialogue. And all dialogue is not comfortable,
Very
especially
true.
dealing with inclusion and social justice. It's not comfortable.
It needs to get uncomfortable.
It does.
Change doesn't happen staying comfortable.
It
Look at a
does not.
butterfly. They didn't get that beautiful. Everything in it as a caterpillar had to be let go of. Had to be uncomfortable in the muck in that of the chrysalis. It had to just let go to be born again into the beauty and
Absolutely.
soar. So it's okay to be, in the mud. Because
And with the mental health issues too, and everything, spiritual coaching, spiritual counseling is so important now. And it's okay not to be okay, to ask for help. And what I tell people, and I say, you must feel it to heal it. You feel it to heal it. You know it's there because you're aware, you're conscious. Now let's work on healing it.
I spent the majority of my life in denial so that I could do what I thought I was supposed to do. And now I realize I get an opportunity to do what I'm called to do.
Yes.
There's no have to in life. We get to. I learned that 14 years ago today, my sister transitioned, and I learned that lesson. I learned that I get to be here. Every day is a gift that I get to choose to be here. And if I'm miserable, I can reach out and ask somebody else to help. I can say, this is how I'm feeling. And I know that I get up in the morning and I start again and I'm better.
Yes.
If I'm not better, I know where to go to help. Not everyone has that. So I'm letting people know right now, there are 2 people on this screen. You can reach out to me and you can, by all means, I can make sure to get a message to Rev JJ for you that we are here. We love you. We are caring for you, and we will help you get to wherever it is you choose to be. And know that that is what it's all about. You can find me on Facebook for my own or CSL Greater Boston, but also Rev JJ, you're there if people put in JJ JioDucci, right? Did I pronounce it right?
You will find it. You will find me.
Okay.
And I'm there to serve, so you will certainly find me.
And as wonderful as you were in this hour, she's even more amazing when she speaks. So find her online too, because I know you're on Facebook as well with a few of you have some of your
on Facebook and actually on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Beautiful.
YouTube. Yes.
So I thank you for this time. I thank you. And as always, I just mentioned that we are here on New Thought Media Network because of people just like you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And tell people where to find the good news. Let them know there is good and it's right here. And you can go back and watch episodes of this and other shows and just bring that light out. But click on the donate button because whatever you give goes right back to this platform to make it even bigger, stronger, and better. And, reach out to us. Let us know. Any questions, info in ntmedia.org. And remember that there's prayer time at 8:15 a.m. and p.m. Central Time, 10:15 a.m. and p.m. on the East Coast. So there's good news here. We are here with treatment and prayer, affirmative prayer, every morning, 7 days a week, 10:15 Eastern Time and p.m. time. We are here with ministers and practitioners to know the truth and live that truth and celebrate that truth. And thank you, Reverend JJ.
Thank you for having me.
That light, for being that truth. People can look for you. And I know you're with Laura on the Cosmic Prayer on Monday. I believe that's noon Eastern Time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So they can look for you there and hear your beautiful words of prayer. And I look forward to having you back on again because you radiate light and you are always a joy. So thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for saying yes
so much
to this path, the second act of your life.
Yes.
And I also encourage everyone to remember the same, that whatever it is that you've wanted to do, today's the day. So be that love, be that light, and Celebrate the joy in the journey. Thank you so much. Blessings and love to all.
Blessings and love. Blessings,
Namaste.
everyone. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Faith, love, openness, willingness.